Hi, I'm Mike Coons. I'm the Extension Forestry Specialist at Utah State University. We don't just prune trees, we prune shrubs too. And if you've got a shrub that sprouts readily on older wood, so that'd be like this honeysuckle, or maybe a lilac or a cotoneaster, but not a mugo pine, for example, which wouldn't sprout well on old wood. You can, if it gets bigger than you want it, and again, it's an aesthetic decision, it's not a biological decision, but if it just gets bigger than you want it to be, there's a number of things you can do. You can shear it back. We won't really show that, but you can just hedge it. In this case, we either want to renovate it, and that's removing maybe a third of it at a time, the biggest limbs as they come out at the base, and then you'd remove another third in the next year and the final third in the final year, and that allows some sprouts to come up each year, so you're not totally without a shrub. Or you can remove it all the way to the ground. So in this case, if we were going to renovate it, I can actually see an old stump in here, so it was renovated when it actually had a 3 or 4 inch stump. But we'd probably cut this branch here. It's a large one, and this is where the loppers you can reach in with. I'm actually going to cut off probably a couple of them here. That's not necessarily the final cut I would make, but now you go fairly low when you're renovating so that you don't leave long stubs that are aesthetically unpleasing and you may get decay in them. So as far down as you can go, this is getting to where it would be harder to go. I could maybe go a few inches farther. And I'd go through and remove the oldest stubs or branches, the biggest ones, scattered cuts throughout. You wouldn't do it just on one side. And then leave it for a year, let it sprout from these, because the new sprouts will come up, and then take off the next oldest material, and then the last year, the final old material, and then you'll have a new shrub in 2-3 years. So we've renovated a large part of this honeysuckle we've got here. You can see the pile of branches there. When we look at it, it's probably a little hard to tell I've done a lot, but I'm not seeing the before and after right in front of me. But we've removed about a third of it. A few other things you could do to make this aesthetically pleasing for a year. Remember, it's only going to be like this for a year, is maybe tip a couple of these branches just to make it a little more balanced, and otherwise you can leave it. So we've removed a third. The good stubs that were alive that we've left down near the base will get sprouts coming up from them vigorously, because removing the branch causes hormonal changes and makes growth happen fast. And then next year we won't remove any of those new sprouts, but we'll remove a third of what's left here scattered around, and then the final year the entire thing, just the old branches, and by then we'll have a couple of years worth of new branches on it, and we'll never have completely lost the shrub. So here's the pile we've got left from finally removing it all. Now this isn't the 3-step renovation, this is just going all the way to the ground. So obviously we have no shoots left, but given the species this is, honeysuckle, it'll sprout readily from these branches that are alive. They're going to get the signal that it's time to grow a new crown because the old one's been taken off. They'll sprout vigorously. There's old stubs in here from where it was taken down years ago and actually allowed to get a lot larger. But an awful lot of shrubs don't flower as well and start accumulating defects in the stems, maybe scale insects that are like on lilacs, for example. And a renovation, either doing it in stepwise fashion or just going all the way to the ground like this, can really be worthwhile for shrubs to reinvigorate them. One thing you need to keep in mind, though, is many times if your landscape's getting overgrown, a sun-loving shrub like this honeysuckle may now be growing under the shade of some large trees, and you may have to do something about the shade or consider moving or just not having that shrub anymore. And because shade tolerance is a big limitation for what you can grow where.